Good to see everybody today.
It is.
What's up, Dan?
Good to see you, James.
Yep. Um, I'm out in the streets.
Good. That's what it takes.
I know, right?
I used to tell agents, hey man, nobody's gonna probably come knock on your door and ask you if they want to buy a house, or if you want to sell a house. So yeah,
Yep.
man, get out and talk to some people, right?
That's it. That's it. Got some good stuff to share with everybody today, so I'm excited.
Oh, good.
Um, so uh, for you all that don't know, this is Funnel Fridays. Uh, on Funnel Fridays, we get together and we go over best practices for the funnels that we build out. Any questions that you might have if you're already running funnels, you got questions about it. This is when you want to go ahead and ask those questions. We're able to help with that. Any problems, we're able to help with the problems as well if something is there. But this is when you want to do it. If you're not running funnels and want to run funnels, basically just get with the person that invited you, or get with your sponsor and get that part there worked out. So that being said, I'm gonna turn this over to Dan the man.
All right, I got it. So yeah, you drive safe, my friend. Um, well, let's see. So we have a guest on today, Sharon Bicknell. Let me see if Sharon's here. Otherwise, I can reach out, make sure she's got the right link. Um, so let me reach out to her real fast. I talked to her earlier today, so it might be a technical difficulty. But yeah, she's having really good success. Excited for her to kind of give us an update, share her story. We had her on probably, I don't know, 3 months ago or so. But she's had some really good progress since then. But I will not do a spoiler alert. I'll let her tell us. Because she's got some really cool stuff that she did this past few weeks with these funnels. So let me get her real quick. See if she needs a new link or something.
Love being apart for a second. What's up, Akila? Got Andre on here.
Yeah, she'll be here in just a minute, running just a little bit late.
Ane, what's up, Ane?
Well, let's go. We can share some good news. She'll be here in just a minute. So
Kimya,
can y'all hear
Brian.
me okay? I'm just checking on my volume today on my computer. You can hear me fine, Andre?
Yes. Yes.
Huh. It's a mystery. Some days it works, some days it doesn't.
Hi, James. I had my button on mute, so I don't know if you couldn't hear me.
I saw your
And
mouth
hello.
moving, so I figured you were saying
Yes.
hello.
Yes, I was. Hello, everyone, for that matter.
Hello. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
We're going to get started in just a minute. Okay. All right. I'm good on my end there. Let me check the screen. Sharon says she needed just there. She is popping in now. So we will give her a minute for her audio to connect and we will get this party started. Brayden, I'll do the little intro and then like a 2-minute thing, kind of use it for a clip for a little testimonial. And I see that Sharon's here, so that's awesome. How you doing today, Sharon?
I'm doing great, thanks. My apologies, I just lost track of time.
Yeah, we're here, so we'll move forward and all that's just wonderful. So we'll just jump right in though, because I do have a hard stop at 2, but we have plenty of time. We won't take all your time, and then I'll let Brayden ask a few questions. But just to kind of, so those that do not know, about how long have you been, well, let's start with the ad spend. So what are you spending a month on your leads?
My $10 a day
Okay.
ad spend, so it's about $300 a month.
Okay, so $10 a day, and then in the last this calendar year, about where you at closing wise? How many closings?
It would be 7, or was it 8? 7 or 8 additional closings. So I've had like 19 closings so far, and of the 19, 7 or 8 of them, I think 8.
Yep.
Yeah. I think it was 8 of those were from the funnel.
Okay, so that's amazing. So that's right at about not quite
Almost
half
half.
your business. So
Yeah.
that's really cool though. So like if you didn't have the funnels, then you'd be doing about 11-ish deals. I mean, we'll just use kind of sort of close numbers.
Yeah, which is kind of what I was doing before.
Yeah, well, that was the goal, right? When we had first talked about this quite a while back, was how am I going to add about a deal a month in my pipeline to start? So that plan's working good. I love when a plan, you know, you're doing all the work and you're doing hard work, and I appreciate that. So about 8 deals, and so you'll probably be at about 10.
Yeah, I have some coming up. So yeah, I have
10 or
one
12 for the year then, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, well that's really good. And then about do you know about the GCI that you've earned on those, if you don't mind sharing?
Probably
you know, just a rough number.
Probably like $60,000.
Yeah, so that's kind of nuts, right? So let's see, 10 months, $300, that's 3,000. So 3,000 is $60. So only about a, what is that, 20x ROI. So yeah, if I could
yeah, I'm not gonna complain about that.
Yeah, if you could buy a stock for $3,000. Well, you know, let's just keep it real as far as the real estate goes. Buying a stock wouldn't be a good analogy. If you're, you know, real estate system that's not a shiny object where you have, and just for those who don't know, our tech team / our guru guy Braden, coach, friend, business partner, builds out the funnel for you, so you didn't have to do that. And then 3 days ish later, 7 days later, a check-in till you understand how to work the system. And then maybe every 30 days or a check-in as needed. So really high ROI, super excited for your success. I think you and I'll do a call and we'll try to see how, maybe even with Braden, and we'll see how we can take you to the next level. Because I think you're kind of at the plateau of stage. You know, if we did 8 stages on this, she's probably in round 2 or 3. And then, you know, there's maybe some shake the trees or an admin or something like that to get involved. But I appreciate that. Braden, what are your thoughts? And I'll kind of turn it over to you.
No, that's good. Sharon is one of those agents that is following the process, and you know, she's reaping the benefits of that. So I always appreciate an agent that stays consistent and follow the process, because typically makes my job quite a bit easier. But the question, you know, I always like to ask is, you know, if there's something you would share or would like to share, you know, with an agent that's either currently doing this or thinking about doing this, what would be that thing that you would want to hear or you would want to share, that you think is the difference maker or the game changer when it comes to converting these leads? Because the first step of the process is obviously, you know, us determining what's the right funnel to put in place, what's the right location based on all the different locations you're open to being transactional in. And then we get to generating leads, and it's kind of on the agent at that point. So what's your opinion on that, Sharon?
I'm sorry, I'm not sure. You're talking.
Well, let me ask it differently. If you were, say, you know, back, I don't know, we've been working together maybe 2 or 3 years, maybe
a couple years, probably 3.
What would you have wished that you would have known, or someone would have told you when you first started out? Because when we first started out, I don't think we were exactly seeing these type of results or getting these results in terms of conversion side. So maybe what is the question might be is what changed for you? Was there anything you started doing differently? Were there anything that you improved upon, I guess, from when you first started to when you started to see more consistency in the conversion?
Well, that's it. Consistency with my habits. So I just had to get pretty organized and consistent with KB Core. And because, these people, just because they click on an ad doesn't mean they're ready to buy a house next week. So
Right.
some of them, you got to nurture them a little bit and just stay in contact with them. And so if they're not ready, then I just have to keep calling them every few weeks or, every month or two or whatever, just to let them know I'm still around, and, send them market reports if if they have a house to sell or whatever. And I just kind of have to stay on them. And some of them they purchased pretty quick, but some of them I had to work with them a couple of years before they finally pulled the trigger. And one lady, I closed her this year, but she had first clicked on my thing like 2.5 years ago. And she was all over the place. And I was referring her to agents in Kentucky and somewhere else, I think North Carolina. And then finally she's like, well, I think I'm just going to stay in Georgia. And then she bought a house. So, but then some of them, like I've had a couple closings this year where I just started working with them this year. And in fact, one of them was last week, and I was out of the country. And
Yeah, tell that story. That's a great story.
yeah, we were supposed to close before I left, and something happened with the buyer's financing, and it got delayed. And it's like, well, I'm not going to be in town. I like to be at my closings, but I can't be there. So I went on. I was it was in Tbilisi, Republic of Georgia, for a mission trip, and I told my seller, I said, listen, I need a picture of you at the closing. So he had a picture with his whatever congratulations sign at the closing office, and he sent it to me. So I was able to put it on social media and say that I can still close a deal even when I'm out of the country. So that was kind of cool. And that also brings me to another thing with the campaigns. The campaign I do is the new construction campaign. And what I love about it is that most of the time when people are looking for new construction, they have a home to sell. So that's getting me listings. So of my 8 closings I've had, 7 or 8, half of them at least were listings. And so this guy that closed while I was out of town, he's buying new construction. We're closing on November 14th in a couple weeks. And I have not showed him the first house. He's looking at homes aren't really close to me, but he's looking at only new construction. So he and his fiance were going out. Well, his wife now, he actually finally closed on the house last week on Friday, and they got married on Saturday. So he had a really busy week. And that's why we were trying to close the week before, but it didn't work. But anyway, they would just go look at homes and new construction and just let the site agent know that he has an agent. And so I never showed him a home. I didn't have to write the contracts. I just, I connected him with an inspector so he could do that. I didn't really do much on it. And we're closing on the 14th, and I'll be putting like, I don't know, 10 grand in my pocket. So
Nice.
that's what I love about new construction, is because a lot of times you get 2 deals. And
Yep.
so there were
Well,
like three clients this year that I've worked with from the campaign, and that's the case. 2 of them have already bought and sold. Well, no, one of them already bought and sold. One of them is sold and is about to buy, that I just told you about. And then one of them sold, and I am currently helping him find a house now. So it's definitely worth the $10 a day ad spend.
yeah, that's one of the benefits to running the new construction, is that they're typically, not a first. Most new construction is not a first time home buyer price point, so they have a property to sell. But another good point to make on that is, it does put you in a situation where you get a lot of time back in your business, right? You're not showing 20 or 30 different homes, writing 5 or 10 different offers, like you would in a traditional resale transaction. So getting that time back in your business to focus on other things, or converting other leads, is always really best case scenario with that.
There have been
Um,
other buyers that I've had that even if they didn't have a home to sell, they bought new construction, and they were leads from this campaign. And I met them like at either at the final walkthrough or I met him. One time I met a lady at the closing table for the first time, my client. So I love new construction. It does free up a lot of time.
Yeah, it's definitely the number one ad to run right now if you have it in your market. But if you don't have it in your market, we have alternative funnels that we can run that still, drive a really good return on investment. Although you may not get the same, you may have to put a little more time in, right? And if you're going to be on the resale side of things as opposed to new construction, but still the return on investment will be there. So cool. There was something I was going to ask you, or something I wanted to make a point of, and it's the one thing that I really see agents struggle with the most. But you brought it up earlier, Sharon, which was the consistency of, and I think it principally comes down to the cultivation of relationships, right? Are we consistently, and the process calls for setting a task in the system, and this is where I think when agents really start to grasp this and implement it, this is where it really changes, or where I start to see the changes the most in their system and in their conversion is when they get very adamant and consistent of setting a task and making sure that every lead that they've made communication with has a task set on the next time they're following up with them, and they're completing that task and setting the next one, right? And those are the two places where I see agents struggle with the most. They either A, are not good about setting the task on when they're going to follow up with them next. The problem you run into with that is not only is it not putting you in a situation to be reminded, to follow back up with this lead, but like Sharon mentioned earlier, there is now business that comes in that's going to be ready to do something a lot sooner, and that ends up taking your time. And so if you don't have a process around something that's going to remind you to follow up with these leads that are going to be longer term, the only deals you're ever going to be doing are the deals of what I call now business, that short-term business that comes in that's ready to do something in maybe 30, 60, 90 days. You don't ever actually get to the snowball effect of setting your task and cultivating relationships with these leads that are going to do something 6 months down the road, a year down the road, in some cases, like Sharon with this one lead, a year or 2 years down the road, right? So that's the first thing, is getting those tasks set. The second thing is, well, maybe I set the task, but when I went to go follow up with that lead, I didn't get in touch with that lead, so I didn't set the next task. And that's one thing I want to share or just kind of point out, is that, just because I had a task set with a lead and I went to go follow up with it and I didn't get in touch with it, that doesn't mean that I shouldn't set another task on when I'm following up with them again. Really, the best practice for that is that, we shoot them a text, hey, listen, we were set to talk today at whatever time. You must have got tied up. Let me know if there's a better time that I could follow up with you today or reach out to you today. Get in touch, whatever you want to say. I know a lot of people don't like the word follow up these days, but a better time I can get in touch with you today. If not, I'm going to reach out to you the same time tomorrow. And then you're setting that task the next day, right? And so the whole point of that is that for every lead we've ever talked to, there's never a point in time that there's not a task set on when we're, following back up with the lead. And I think if you can stay consistent to that and do that, that's where, really, in my opinion, the consistency comes in the conversion. And I think that's kind of the consistency you were talking about earlier. When you started to do that more consistently, you start to see the conversion improve as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think once I got on that, once I started doing that, getting consistent with my calling, like, 9 o'clock or 9:30, every day, 9:30 to 11, I, like that's, it's non-negotiable. Like that's just when I'm going to be making my calls, because if I notice that if I try to push it, if things come up and I try to push it to later, it just doesn't really happen. So
that's what we talked about last week, was, are we time blocking, right? It's like I said it last week. It's really easy to say, yeah, I'm going to devote, a couple hours next week to making my calls, and then it doesn't happen next week. And then, I'll do it the next week. And then a month turns into 3 months, and 3 months turns into 6. And then you never end up making any calls. I think, best case scenario, if it was me and I was an agent today and I wasn't time blocking, that would be my number one thing I would be doing in my calendar today before next week. is I'm getting clarity on when exactly am I time blocking in my system next week that I'm making calls to the leads that I've currently generated. I know there's some agents that maybe are on here, maybe not, that, you know, was running the ad and maybe had to shut it down for whatever reason or has leads in their system. But if there's not a time that you're clear on when you're going to be calling these leads, the chances of it happening is very unlikely, right? You know, you think you're going to get around to it and it just never ends up happening. And so that would be the number one thing that I would say is, you know, outside of what we were talking about with setting the task and consistently adding the next task as you cultivate those relationships, in order to have that conversation to ever set a task, which is just essentially based on their time frame, is you had to get in touch with them in the first place, right? Which is you had to either been making calls or they had to respond to some type of text or email that we sent them. And a lot of times, if they're leads that have been in the system for a while, there's no more automation going to them outside of the search alerts. So unless you're sending a mass text, which we talked about that last week as well, or making your phone calls, you're not really getting any of these leads to surface, right? So you have to be making those phone calls. And in my opinion, you got to be setting time in the calendar until you get those habits built on when you're going to be making those phone calls, time blocking it. And I think even once the habit's built, it's still a good idea to have clarity on exactly when you're going to be doing it, how long you're going to be doing it. And depending on what type of leads you have in the system and how many leads you have in the system, which lead you're allocating what day to, right? Because you may be running some new construction and you're going to be calling those one day. You may have some sphere of influence you may be calling one day. You may have leads from an open house that you may be calling one day, whatever the case. But until you have clarity on when you're doing it, who you're calling, and you know how long you're going to be doing it, more than likely it's probably not going to happen. So that's what the challenge. I think I challenged you last week. I'll challenge you again. Is get clarity on when that is and when you're going to be doing it, how long you're going to be doing it, and what you know, which lead you're going to be calling if you've got more than just the leads that we've generated from the funnel in the system. But Dan, that's really all I've got.
Yeah, I
if you've got
appreciate that.
anything else.
There are call groups that, I mean, there's various call groups at EXP, so you could reach out to people, you know, you reach out to me, you reach out to someone inside this group, EXP.
Is there anything anybody that's currently running the funnel? Anybody that is struggling with something in the process, struggling with something in KB Core, has a question, anything at all that we could answer on this call today?
I have something. So I just got mine set up. I think it was a week ago you helped me, Braden. Thank you for that too. Um, and we had a question like in our discussion call yesterday where is it possible you can get automated messages that might respond back to the client like when they reach out to you and touch base, like where it can until you can get back to them, so you don't get it cold the lead.
Not in KB Core, no. And that's kind of, you know, a conversation that's ultimately going to lead into a lofty conversation. KB Core just doesn't have the AI technology and what you would experience with something like Lofty, where it does is what you're kind of referring to is having AI that's able to, let's say a lead comes in, we send a text, that lead responds, and then another text is sent back to that lead, you know, obviously in alignment with the conversation. So that's not something that is not something currently that you can do in KB Core. The one thing I would tell you is that, and I don't really know the reason as to, there's a ton of different reasons as to why you might not be able to get back to a lead, but we got to try to mitigate that gap as much as we can. And having the mobile app with the text and email notifications is really going to be your best way to do that, because you could make the argument, I'm not in front of a computer. Well, I know this, and probably everybody on this Zoom can agree, that phone's in our hand probably 95% of the day, you know. So if you can't be in front of a computer, then the best case scenario is I at least, and I think it would be hard to make this argument that you couldn't do this, but you should be able to at least send a text back from your mobile app within within a reasonable period of time from when a lead responds in the system. Now, if you're on a listing appointment, you're showing, even if you're showing property, I think you could probably make the argument that you could send a text back. But that would be the one thing I would suggest, that A, you got to get the KB Core mobile app downloaded. B, once it's downloaded, get logged in and get somewhat savvy with it. You know, unfortunately, I don't think we have like a overview training, kind of like we do with the desktop version. But all of the functionalities are essentially the same. They're going to be laid out a little bit differently than they will be obviously on the conversion process video, but the functionalities are going to be the same. So poke around a little bit in there. I would turn on the text and push notifications. Text notifications means that when a lead responds, you're going to get a text message with what that response was. Push notifications is like when you get a notification from Facebook and it's the Facebook banner, right? So it would be a KB Core bannered notification. And so you're really putting yourself in a situation where it's hard to miss that notification, right? And that would be my suggestion. Although I am aware there are things that get in the way of us not being able to respond right away. But that would be the one thing that I would do, you know, for best case scenario to try to mitigate that time frame of not being able to get back to leads.
Yes, definitely. Because I try to respond, as soon as I see it. So we were just wondering that, and
that's really all that we can do, unless you're open at using Lofty, which Lofty comes with its own, pros and cons. A little bit more difficult system to learn, but it does have the AI. But at the same time, I've seen the AI say some off the wall stuff that's burned leads too. So I've always said, I think an agent is going to be able to emotionally connect a lot better with a lead and have a better response. You're going to be more knowledgeable of the market than an AI typically would be, at least for now, with where AI is. And so even having that, the only way I see it really work more efficiently is like when leads come in at very odd times of the night or the morning. Or there are some cases where, you really just aren't able to send a text back because you're on a listing appointment or don't have your phone or for whatever reason. And we've seen it do some pretty cool stuff where it set an appointment. So there's that. But I think all in all, because even the agents that I have running Lofty, I coach them. I say, listen, there's some AI here, but the best case scenario is the lead responds, you see the AI trigger off before it sends the next one off, and you get another response. You're muting that AI and taking over the conversation. Where I'm only coaching agents to use AI as a safety net, right? Because I want you to analyze that response, come up with something that is gonna, more than likely get you another response. And AI just doesn't always do the best job of that. So, if that kind of answers your question there, that's what I'd say.
Definitely. And you said Lofty, Lofty?
Yep.
Just wanted to look into it. But that answered my question. Thank you so much.
Of course. Anybody else?
Hey, if not, we'll wrap it up. I've got to I got to go, but I appreciate y'all being on. If y'all need any help, just reach out to me, James, whoever invited you to the call. If you're not already in our group, we're happy that you're here, and just reach out to whoever invited you. But there's no other questions. We'll wrap this up. Y'all come back next Friday.
Thanks, guys.
I appreciate y'all. See you next Friday.
Appreciate y'all. Y'all have a good weekend.
Thank you. Thanks, Sharon. Thank you for hopping on the webinar today with Braden Kinder, James Massey, and myself. What I'd like for you to do, if you want to, is hop on my calendar for about a 10-15 minute. I block off 20 minutes on the call, but it's usually like 5-10 minute call, a strategy call. Be happy to answer any questions, tell you exactly how the program works, tell you about the free version, the low cost version, and well, it's the no cost. I don't like saying free, but no cost version, low cost version, and then how we can help you with consistent lead flow, consistent, predictable closings, adding about 1 to 2 closings additional to what you're doing a month to your pipelines. Very realistic. A lot more to the program than we talked about today in the meeting. We also have weekly trainings. We have one-on-one. We have call groups. We have anything and everything you need to help you to be successful in this market and just to thrive. So give me a call, you can give me a call, 678-907-1853, or hop on my calendar. You can scan the QR code or just go to dansleadsclass.com/call. Schedule a call. Happy to talk to you, see if I can help you in your real estate business, and glad to help you any way I can. So hop on my calendar or give me a call. Talk to you soon.